Hello and welcome to my 2021 March Madness selection breakdown. I'm going to go round by round for you and show you who I have winning it all this season. My name is Owen Kasanovich. Let's get into it. We'll start in the South region, and as you can see, I already have Baylor moving on. They're going to get a win over Hartford. And in the 8-9 matchup, it's North Carolina and Wisconsin. I'm going to pick Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin hasn't played very well over the last couple weeks of the season, and North Carolina gets almost 40% of offensive rebounds with their offensive rebounds. First 5-12 here in the South. I'm going to go with Winthrop. Villanova, remember, they're without Colin Gillespie, and Justin Moore hurt his ankle, but I'm going to take Winthrop to advance in the 12-5 upset. Purdue will advance. Travion Williams, Zach Edey, Jaden Ivey. Their freshman class is really good, and they're playing well at the right time. They will move on to the round of 32. Going with Texas Tech and Coach Chris Beard. Texas Tech playing in a tough Big 12 conference. Kind of stumbling down the stretch, but they'll get the win here. Another upset here, and this is I've listened to a lot of the Selection Sunday people talk about this upset with Arkansas, with Colgate over Arkansas. Arkansas, they're a really good team. Eric Musselman, the head coach, but I just think Colgate, who gets up 80 points per game, this is going to be a high scoring game. I think Colgate will surprise people, even though they only played 15 games this season. Winners of the Patriot League. Virginia Tech over Florida for the 10-7, and Ohio State will move on. There, that completes the first round of the South region. We'll go over to the West. Got to go with Gonzaga, undefeated, playing really well. And in the people's bracket, in this 8-9, a lot of people have been taking Oklahoma. Brady Manick has been playing well for Oklahoma. I'm going to take Missouri out of the SEC. Missouri's a really good SEC team. They were good in the SEC this year. And with another 5-12, I'm going to pick Creighton. Creighton, I know, didn't play in the Big East Championship that well, losing by 30 points to Georgetown, but Creighton's going to bounce back and get a win in the tournament. Moving on. 4-13 matchup, Virginia versus Ohio. I'm going to go with Ohio here. I just feel like Virginia, with all their COVID issues, not being able to travel until Friday, they play their first round game on Saturday, and being in quarantine, not being able to leave till Friday, not knowing who we're going to see on the court. I think Ohio is going to pull off the upset there. The 6-11 matchup, USC versus the winner of Wichita or Drake. I'm going to go with Evan Mobley and USC, one of the best players in the country. Kansas, Eastern Washington at 3-14. I'm going to go with Kansas. Kansas is going to be without three players, but David McCormick is going to be back, their star center. Oregon's going to beat VCU. I watched VCU play this past weekend in their A10 championship. I liked what I saw, but I think Oregon with Chris Duarte is going to win this one, the Pac-12 Player of the Year. And of course, Iowa and Luka Garza, with all the talent Iowa has, this team can make a deep run. Now scrolling down to the East region, Michigan will advance. I know no Isaiah Livers right now, but he could be back in the later rounds, so I'm going to take Michigan. LSU, a team who has potential to go all the way to the Elite Eight. And then St. Bonaventure, winners of the A10 championship game. This team plays only 6 players. Their starting 5 is really good. I watched them play, and I was really impressed with St. Bonaventure. So I have St. Bonaventure winning as a 9 seed. Maybe you could say an upset, but I just think St. Bonaventure is really, really talented. Colorado and Georgetown. Georgetown picked last to finish in the Big East. They go win 4 games in 4 days in New York City to claim the Big East title. Georgetown's hot right now. I have Georgetown moving on with Patrick Ewing as the coach. Georgetown's a great team right now. Florida State, UNC Greensboro, excuse me. Florida State. I think Florida State just has so much talent, and they could be poised for a deep run into this year's tournament. BYU, Michigan State. I think Michigan State's going to win tomorrow night, and Tom Izzo, as he usually does, has his team playing really well. They picked up 3 solid home wins against top 5 teams, all in the Big Ten. Obviously, Ohio State, Illinois, and the rival Michigan. They all beat at home to really solidify their case to be an NCAA tournament team. Texas, too much guard play for Abilene Christian. Texas is going to move on. Uconn, Maryland. This one's tough. Maryland is a really good defensive team. Of course, Uconn with James Booknight, but I'm going to pick Uconn. I think James Booknight and RJ Cole and Uconn has so many talented players with Coach Dan Hurley. Uconn's going to move on. And Alabama, I think Coach Nate Oates, Coach of the Year in the SEC. Alabama's a really good team. When they're making their threes, they play pretty tough defense. Alabama's a tough team to beat. The thing that worries me about Alabama, though, is their consistency, because when they go dry from the three-point land, they can have a tendency to lose games. But Alabama's a really good team. Now to the Midwest region, we'll start with the 15-2 Houston and Quentin Grimes. This team is amazing to watch, really fun to watch. Winners of their conference tournament out of the American Athletic. I'm going to take a 10 seed with Rutgers. Rutgers, out of these Big Ten teams have been really tested all season. I think the Big Ten is the toughest conference this year, and that'll help these Big Ten teams as they play their first round matchup. I have Rutgers with Miles Johnson and Geo Baker at the helm, help leading Rutgers to their first round win over Clemson. West Virginia, really talented, kind of stumbled down the stretch in the Big 12, but this team's really talented and has the ability to make it to the Sweet 16. San Diego State and Syracuse. Syracuse gets in, Coach Jim Boeheim and the Orange finishing a strong stretch. And they got Buddy Boeheim who can drop 30 on you. Quincy Guerrier, who's really good, solid defender. But San Diego State, this 6th seed they play in the Mountain West. They've won their last 10 games, and they've played really well with Matt Mitchell and Jordan Shackle leading the helm for them. I'm going to pick San Diego State moving on. Oklahoma State Liberty. Liberty's a solid team. They kind of like to slow down the pace a little bit. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. I just think Cade Cunningham and that Oklahoma State team have too much talent and for Liberty to be able to keep up with them. Another 5-12. I'm going to take the Tennessee Vols. John Fulkerson is out, but I think Tennessee with Keon Johnson and their other young freshmen, they're going to be able to pull it out. Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech. Loyola Chicago is going to advance there. Sister Jean is coming to Indianapolis, which is going to be fun to see, obviously, because of COVID. She can't interact on the court and all that, but I like Loyola Chicago to take on their in-state rival. This will be a fun game. Illinois and Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago, you can bet, will be very, very excited to play their in-state Illinois Fighting Illini. All right, so I have Illinois moving on over Loyola. I just think Illinois has too much talent, and this team's really good. Kofi Coburn, Io DeSumo, Trent Frazier, you name it. They got so many talented pieces. This team is going to the Final Four, in my opinion. Tennessee, Oklahoma State. I have Oklahoma State advancing here. I have San Diego State over West Virginia. I just think San Diego State is a really talented team, can make a Sweet 16. Houston advancing there. Now back over to the East, I have Michigan advancing to the Sweet 16, as well as Florida State. Florida State with Scotty Barnes and all that talent that Leonard Hamilton has for this Florida State team. This Florida State team, when they're on and they're going and really playing solid defense in transition, this team is fun to watch and is very talented and can make a deep run. So the winner of Michigan State, UCLA versus Texas, I'm going to pick Texas. Texas has 3 really solid guards, and I think as well as Jericho Sims in the middle for them at center. This team plays great defense and can really score and shoot, and they fly around the ball and like to get out and run the fast break. So I have Texas going to the Sweet 16, and then Uconn, Alabama. I touched on it a bit earlier. Alabama's a really good team. They might struggle from the 3-point arc sometimes, but I got Alabama beating a really good Uconn team. I just think Alabama, with their talent, will be able to advance. Now, scrolling back up to the West region, we have Gonzaga and Missouri. No question, Gonzaga. Corey Kispert, Jalen Suggs, Drew Timme. I think this team is so talented that you're going to see Gonzaga pulling off win after win in this tournament. Creighton, the 5 versus Ohio, the 13 seed. Ohio's got a really good player and a really solid team out of the MAC. I think Ohio pulls off another upset to reach the Sweet 16 and have a date with Gonzaga. USC and Kansas. I like Evan Mobley here. And part of it is because, again, Kansas and Virginia are the two teams with COVID issues. And that's why I picked Ohio in the first round to pull off the upset. I just don't know what I'm going to see from Kansas, missing 3 players, and they're going to be out likely the first 2 games of the tournament. If they win and advance, then they'll get those guys back. But they're traveling to Indy without 3 players. So that's important to look out for. But I have USC with Evan Mobley and just really strong contenders in the Pac-12 this year. I have them advancing to the Sweet 16. 7-2 matchup, Oregon versus Iowa. Luka Garza, Jordan Bohannon, CJ Frederick. So much talent on this Iowa team. Jordan Wieskamp. I mean, this team is just so talented. Coach McCaffrey's got a great offensive team. This team's starting to play defense now. Iowa is a dangerous team right now. Then over to the South region, Baylor versus Wisconsin. Baylor has had some trouble with, as far as coming back from COVID, losing in their semifinal round of the Big 12 tournament. I think Baylor has too much talent, and they're going to win against Wisconsin to go on to the Sweet 16. Winthrop versus Purdue. Purdue with Travion Williams and Zach Edey, they're bigs. Travion had a tremendous performance against Ohio State in the Big Ten quarterfinal round, unfortunately coming up short in overtime. But what a game that was. And then the 6-14 Texas Tech and Colgate. This is going to be a surprise. I'm not sure a lot of people in their bracket have a 14 seed going to the Sweet 16, but I just like this Colgate team. I didn't know a lot about them early on, but listening again to Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis having Colgate as a surprising team making it to the Sweet 16, excuse me. I really like this team, and I think they have what it takes to get 2 wins in this tournament. Virginia Tech, Ohio State. Ohio State is playing really well. They took they took Illinois all the way to overtime in the Big Ten championship game. I really like what I see from them. Denzel Washington, CJ Walker, Kyle Young should be back. He had a concussion in the second half of the quarterfinal round against Purdue. He had 18 in the first half. But all the pieces, and don't forget EJ Liddell. This team is really talented, and they have the ability to make a Final Four run. So with that, I have Ohio State moving on. So we'll start in the West region. Gonzaga versus Ohio. Gonzaga is too much for Ohio. I just think with all the talent that Gonzaga possesses, I think you're going to see, again, Gonzaga make a deep run in this tournament. Baylor versus Purdue. I'm tempted to pick Purdue here just because I'm a Big Ten guy, as you can see, repping my Wisconsin hat. But I think Baylor coming into this tournament, they'll be able to play well and they'll be able to rack up wins in this tournament. USC versus Iowa. Luka Garza and Iowa moving on. Too much talent for them. Evan Mobley's great, but Evan Mobley's going to need some help against USC. And then Colgate versus Ohio State. We just touched on it. Too much talent for Ohio State, and they'll move on to face Baylor. San Diego State and Houston. I really love this Houston team. Quentin Grimes, Marcus Sasser, their guards, and they're very athletic. They struggle to shoot the ball sometimes, but this team is so athletic. And when they're shooting the ball and it's going in for Quentin Grimes, this team is really dangerous. Texas, Alabama. I have Alabama moving on here, and it's going to be, as you look at my bracket, that's going to be the theme is, Alabama scares me, but at the same time, they show that they are one of the best teams in the country this year. It's just, can they continue to shoot the ball well? Like most teams, that's how you win or lose in advance in March Madness, but I really like this Alabama team to make it to the Elite Eight. Michigan versus Florida State. I'm going to go with the upset here. I like Florida State. I just think that this team is so good. They're very athletic. They have really good players. Coach Leonard Hamilton is very good with the scheme. And Florida State's defense will cause some problems for Michigan. Then Illinois versus Oklahoma State. Illinois, no question. Again, this team has the ability to win it all with Ayo Dosunmu, who could be player of the year. So talented, like Luka Garza. First player since Evan Turner to average 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. I have Illinois moving on. So here we go. We'll start with Florida State, Alabama. I have Florida State moving on over Alabama. I think Alabama's shooting finally catches up with them, facing an athletic and long Florida State team. And Scotty Barnes will have a great game to help Florida State move on. Illinois and Houston. Well, not much to say. Illinois, a really good team. They'll be poised to win it all after not winning the regular season Big Ten title, which they had a little bit of gripe on because Michigan won it by percentage. But I have Illinois moving on to their Final Four. So that leaves two teams left. We have Gonzaga versus Iowa and Baylor and Ohio State. This one's tough. Again, I'm a Big Ten guy. I love Luka Garza. I love this Iowa team. They have one of the best offenses in the country, but I don't know if they'll be able to beat Gonzaga. I just think Gonzaga is so athletic, shoots the ball well. They're one of the obviously ranked number one all year in the country. I just think Gonzaga is on a mission to become the first team since 1978. The last team to go undefeated and win the national championship, the Indiana Hoosiers in 1978 did it. I think Gonzaga is looking to go 32-0 and win a national championship. Baylor, Ohio State. I have Ohio State. I just think Ohio State, they really showed me a lot going into this Big Ten tournament. Before, I probably had them as a Sweet 16, Elite 8 team. Now, I like their pieces. EJ Liddell, Kyle Young should be back off that concussion. Denzel Washington and CJ Walker, their guards. I mean, also two of the best free throw shooters in the country. This Ohio State team knows how to close out close games. And that's why I love Ohio State. So we have one Final Four matchup as Gonzaga, the 1 seed, Gonzaga Bulldogs, and the 4 seed Florida State Seminoles. Got to go with Gonzaga. I just think this, like I said, this team's on a mission. Corey Kispert, Jalen Suggs, Drew Timme, all that talent for Gonzaga, and they're going to reach the national championship game. So a rematch of the Big Ten championship game, Ohio State and Illinois. Ohio State clawed their way back after struggling in the first half, ended up losing in overtime. Again, Ohio State, really good pieces, but Illinois is on a mission to win this championship. It's probably their best time to do so with the talent they have. This team's so talented. Best team since 2005 with Darren Williams and D. Brown at the helm. This is really the time for Illinois to win it with Kofi Coburn, Ayo Dosunmu, Adam Miller, Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams, Georgie Bashaniashvili, all these pieces that Illinois has, because most likely Ayo and Kofi are going to leave, of course, for the NBA. Kofi might come back for one more year, but you don't know. So this is really the time for Illinois to win it. And that's why I have Illinois moving on. And so the national championship game, two great teams, Gonzaga, Illinois. I think Illinois gets it done, and the score will be 78-75, a very high scoring game. So those are my picks. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for joining.